How does the audio business work according to you, and how do you believe the business side of the Array voice will work out here?
We are using this to funnel a large number of voices to come and very easily create, which currently don't have a voice on other platforms or who don't want to put their face out on other platforms, right? While there are 80 to 90 million content creators that exist on video and everywhere else, it's actually just the top 5% that make money. A creator need not have a million followers. You could still make money off whatever you sell for a particular brand at 1,000 followers, at 2,000 followers as well.
How have you seen the content ecosystem change?
So I may actually place more premium and value on a YouTube creator or a short format creator, and that might be more valuable for me as compared to something that was created by an OTT platform with very high production value. Advertisers are moving towards influencer marketing or moving towards partnering with a lot of the short format video content creators, because I think the combination of a multi-format approach works well for brands. It was actually a differentiator.
Communities are small, and if you really want engagement, you need to be small. So, first of all, thanks a lot, guys, for joining in. This is a 71st episode of the Builders Club Startup Founders podcast. Like every other time, we have a very special guest, and this time I'm not joking. I think Niyati is one of those who's kind of a veteran in her own ecosystem. So for all of you guys who don't know, Niyati Merchant, she is the co-founder of Arre, which is now one of the most prominent multi-format, multi-genre OTT platforms which are out there. And she has also now within Array, they have launched Array Voice, which is a women-focused short-form audio content platform, and we're going to talk more about what that platform is all about. But I guess for all of you guys who are joining in, one of the most important and interesting aspects of today's podcast is going to be about the journey of Niyati, because her journey has been very interesting. She has been a part of management consulting. She was a part of corporate strategy. Then she got into entrepreneurship full time. She got into the content ecosystem. And in a time when I think the OTT ecosystem was like going crazy. I think at one when Array launched, I remember there were 30-35 different OTT platforms which were being launched at one go. Together, all of these things were happening, and there was so much bustle which was happening around. And only a few survived out of them, and Array was one of them. So that is one story which I personally am very, very interested in understanding about. Apart from that, I guess for all of you guys who are joining in, you will get an opportunity to ask questions to Niyati as well. But towards the end of the overall podcast today. But before that, let's just welcome Niyati. Niyati, welcome to the Builders Club.
Hi, Sohail. Thanks for having me here. I think actually it was really good chatting with you earlier today, and I just think that after I got to know about your journey, I think we'll have a lot to talk about in common.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, so my own journey has been in the content ecosystem, and very I understand firsthand what it would have been like building Array at a time when everybody was basically making an OTT platform. Anyone and everyone who had a network and who had content was basically coming up with an OTT platform. So just to understand, yeah, Niyati, will probably kick it off with your own journey, because I think you started off in management consulting, in
Yeah.
KPMG, I believe, and then you got into NDTV. Sorry, NDTV or
NDTV, no,
CNBC?
Network 18.
Network 18. In
Yeah.
Network 18, where you basically learn the ropes of the content ecosystem. And I believe, a lot of people who are fascinated with the content of the media space, like me, who are outsiders, they don't really understand the business aspect and how that kind of motivates the majority of the decisions when it comes to the content which is being made on the media. And I think if you get to be a part of that side early on, I think there's a reality check which happens, when it comes to
Yeah.
content. So what was your experience like? How did you discover the media or content ecosystem? What was your initial journey like, and how did you end up starting Array and then Array Voice?
Sure. So I think while I was like you mentioned at KPMG and EY consulting, I think I focused a lot on consumer retail and media, sports, a lot of those kind of clients, and I think that's why I just kind of got fascinated with having to do something within the media ecosystem. And so Network 18 was like a client of mine, and I'd spent a lot of time, consulting with them on various projects. And eventually, I ended up joining them for about 2 years, and then I think that's when I sort of got to know the founder of Array and the rest of the founding team. So there are Array is founded by Sai, and
Yeah.
who's incidentally on this call. Hello,
Yes,
Sai.
hello, Sai.
Why are you here?
It's
You
just
can just
listening
like
in.
pop in and say hi. Yeah, I don't know why, but and five other co-founders who were also all from Network 18. So I think for me, when sort of Sai decided to start Array, it was just very exciting for me to sort of be part of something from scratch. And so I think so that's how I think it was an interesting time for anybody wanting to be part of the digital ecosystem. And I think we had sort of obviously set out to establish like a really strong digital media brand which was focused on original content across formats, right? So videos, we did podcasts, we're currently doing podcasts as well, web series, short videos, and also long format essays. To
Hmm.
then, and that those were the times when, we created content which was available for distribution on our site, array.co.in. And then our YouTube channels, and then we also syndicated to a lot of the OTT platforms that started, that started sort of
Yeah.
opening
I
up in India, right?
I
Like,
think I think Array was the first ones to do that. Syndications of their content at that point of time. Nobody else was doing it.
yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were the first ones. I remember we were distributed on Ola Play as well, and Hotstar and some of the other platforms. And then to, 2018-19, when we sort of formally launched like a studio business, which is Array Studio, where we partnered with OTT platforms to,
Create.
co-create content in a sort of exclusive kind of model, either through licensing or, just platform partnerships. So, and then that was the 2018-19. We worked on a lot of projects with Hotstar, the Amazon Prime Video and Mini TV, MX Player. And then, come 2020, I think the I think that was a time when a lot of our shoots actually had to get rescheduled because of COVID. And sort of that
Yes.
gave us some time to think about, what else we could do, and how, if we could sort of integrate this, what we've created, into a slightly bigger tech play. And that's when, the idea of Array Voice was sort of born. And yeah, that's a little bit about the journey leading up to Array Voice.
Hmm. Very interesting. There are a lot of pointers that I want to touch upon. But before that, let's talk about a little bit about Array Voice as well, because it's a very
Yeah,
interesting niche. One, it's audio. Second is
yeah,
women focused. So very interesting formats. Of course, the TG is big, the one which you're targeting. But why
yeah.
audio? And what's the differentiation? What's the vision there?
So I think audio. I think we took a I think the bet is essentially on audio, right, as a superset medium of consumption. I think it's just deeply authentic. It sort of if you really want to build a product that's catered to like the LCM of the country, then there is no better platform than audio, right? And great for on the go consumption, and more importantly, it is appearance agnostic, right? So you don't need like your ring lights, and you don't need to really put your face out there, and therefore inherently less judgmental, and lends itself for very easy creation, right? Low on time, low on production value, and therefore it sort of gives and it opens up an opportunity to um, target those people who want to be creators with just their voice, right? There are a lot of platforms today that, like short video apps, and then of course you have Instagram and YouTube who cater to creators, of which are largely for the face, right? But
Yeah.
really, there is no platform that focuses on anyone, whether that person is a writer, could be, a poet, could be a mental health counselor, could be anybody who wants to create and make money of that creation, but doesn't want to put themselves completely out there. And I think that voice, therefore, so therefore audio, and I think this entire proposition, I think the first takers of something like this are women, right? It just
Mm.
lends so beautifully to women because um it's less pressure. You don't have to put yourself out there, and therefore we said, on the go to market approach of this, we'll invert the lens a little bit and start with only women, right?
Mm.
So
Makes
we
sense.
started by onboarding only women on the platform, and the initial invites to invite other genders has also been given only to women. We have a women only moderation team, and very soon, in some time, we will also be launching like a women only feed, right? So while everyone's invited to come and create, I would say women would be like the privileged citizens on the platform.
So यार इसमें ना दो चीजें हैं because we
Hmm.
I think the Builders Club itself has been a voice first community for the longest period of time, right?
Yes.
And I think so. I have a few questions purely from the fact that we have been operating in the audio ecosystem. And we are kind of being forced to get into the video ecosystem. Now, let's go a little bit deeper and we'll have
Hmm.
a frank discussion around this. थोड़ा सा
Yeah.
business वाला angle भी समझेंगे इसमें. और थोड़ा I want to understand how does the mechanics and the semantics of it also work. क्योंकि ऑडियो का अगर आप इकोसिस्टम देखोगे ना तो आई थिंक इन इंडिया आई थिंक आईवीएम पॉडकास्ट इज द ओनली वन हु हैव बीन डूइंग समथिंग सब्सटेंशियल इन द
Yes.
पॉडकास्टिंग स्पेस ठीक है
Hmm.
इंडिया में अभी भी पॉडकास्टिंग और ऑडियो कंटेंट बिजनेस इन जनरल हैज नॉट येट टेकन ऑफ अभी भी आई थिंक सिंस आई थिंक 2013 2014 ऑनवर्ड्स इट्स बीन अ डेकेड कि अभी एक 10 साल बाद digital ad spends have kind of touched where the TV ad spends are. But
Hmm.
majority of these things are happening in the digital or video content space. So YouTube हो गया, Instagram हो गए, Shorts हो
Correct.
गए, Reels हो गए. And वो primarily because why? Because eyeball catching and nano मतलब the microseconds that you have, they're basically capturing into that. जो
Hmm.
attention span और time frame आप वहां पे ले रहे हैं.
Hmm.
Audio, on the other hand, till now at least, from a business perspective, has not yet made that much sense from a brand perspective. मतलब एक ब्रांड अगर स्पॉन्सर करेगा तो उसको एक पॉडकास्ट सीरीज के साथ एसोसिएट होना पड़ेगा instead of doing just an ad placement. And it
Correct.
has to be a thematic kind of an integration as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
प्लस आई थिंक इसमें कम्युनिटी एंगल होना बहुत जरूरी है जैसे हम whenever we do any kind of integrations we have a community at the back where we kind
Hmm.
of push so the audio podcast becomes an add-on कि यहाँ announcement हुई और यहाँ हमने आपको पूरा ये बेचा. How does the audio business work according to you and how do you believe the business side of the Array voice will work out here? Because इसमें दो तीन चीजें हैं. एक की ब्रांड पर्सपेक्टिव से अभी ऑडियो इकोसिस्टम किस तरीके से इज बीइंग परसीव्ड बिकॉज यू आर मोर क्लोजर टू दैट एंड सेकेंडली यार इन जनरल व्हाट इज द ट्रैजेक्टरी दैट यू आर लुकिंग एट मतलब रियलिस्टिकली
Right.
कैसा दिख रहा है अभी.
Right. So I think on podcasts in general and in long form audio, what you're saying is right, right? In from the point of view that it's more branded content, thematically sort of align, and then you have to sort of offer it on all the possible podcast distribution platforms for a brand to get sort of eyeballs and reach. So I think that continues. From Ari Voice's perspective, the way we are looking at it is, um, look, I think I don't know if I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but we are short audio in the sense that the unit of consumption on the app is 30 seconds, right?
Acha.
So anybody who creates content or UGC content, it's in the format of a 30-second voice pod.
Hmm.
So, and it is interest based, right? So I select whether it's a review on a Korean drama, whether it is about spoken word poetry, whether it is learning a certain language, whatever be the interest area, the unit of this thing is short format. We are using this to funnel a large number of voices to come and very easily create, which currently don't have a voice on other platforms, or who don't want to put their face out on other platforms, right? And therefore the audience size becomes that much more bigger. So in that sense, it does not remain niche, right? So we are trying to create this format to target a large number of people to come onto the app and consume and create content. um, the monetization model is to, one, of course, advertising. Wherever there is an audience, there will be advertising. So advertising is obviously one stream, but the monetization I'm really excited about is also creator-led monetization, right? So the minute you sort of reach a certain kind of following, and it need not be 100,000 and a million followers, right? And I'll come to that, why I'm saying that. It could be 1,000, 2,000 followers, and you will have the opportunity to make money. We will give you professional tools. So then you can start your own podcast. You can continue to use the 30-second format,
Acha.
or you can set up a storefront where you can sell products, your own products or services, or products and services on behalf of certain brands, right? The reason I'm saying, and that's how creators make money off the platform, and therefore the platform makes money through these transactions, right? So content led commerce and social commerce, that's the second revenue stream that I'm personally very excited about. And I'll tell you, so the opportunity here is this, right? That today, if you look at the creator ecosystem that exists today, while there are 80 to 90 million content creators that exist on video and everywhere else, it's actually just the top 5% that make money, right? The balance are not making money currently. So you're spending a lot of time and effort creating content, video content, building your following, and then you would want to get to that trajectory sooner. And on the other hand, if you look at brands, the money that they spend on creators has very less, I would say, measurability, or I would say ROI value to it, right? Because it isn't measurable in that sense. So if you look at the problem that brands are trying to solve by bringing this measurability through our platform, we want to bring in this addressability where you will be, every brand will know what a creator has done for the brand, right? And therefore a creator need not have a million followers. You could still make money of whatever you sell for a particular brand at 1,000 followers, at 2,000 followers as well. So that sort of opens up the monetizable opportunity for 90% of the creators.
So
Where,
you are
currently
basically
there isn't.
you're basically then becoming a platform where the people who are afraid to put themselves out there basically come and open up and
Yes.
kind of experiment with what they are doing, and then once they have a following, they are confident of themselves, then they can basically branch out and start their
Make your
own.
own
So
podcast. Yeah.
so इसमें merchandising मतलब then content led commerce is one of the monetization models that you're basically getting into.
Yes. Yes.
And
Apart
this
from
will,
advertising
yeah,
and,
yeah. So
writing.
advertising का तो मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि so is this something which gets integrated within the existing platforms of Arre? मतलब it'll be there omnipresent in the ecosystem. That is what I understand, right?
Yeah, so see, with Array, we see that there are a lot of synergies with Studio, right? Because it's a content creation from opportunities for a creator could be making money on the app. And if, let's say, you are if you are a creative sort of content creator, which means either a writer, music talent, whatever it is, you have opportunities to work with us on the Array Studio, right? In fact, we are even currently doing that. Some of the creators that we have have started growing on the Arre Voice platform. We are working with them on podcasts and, on some of our video shows. So that's like a very, very immediate sort of opportunity. And from a studio point of view, it's a first look-see into new talent.
Yeah, the new talent acquisition का वो बन गया ना आपका फिर ये तो very
हाँ,
interesting,
yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting, cool. So Niyati, थोड़ा सा ना अब let's try and get into the early days of Arre and Arre Voice as well.
Yeah.
Because I think majority of the folks here are anyways, people who would be listening in our founders and people who are trying to build their own stuff, right? So just trying to understand a little bit कि when you joined in, I think it was a 6 to 7 member team, right? या फिर how big was the team then? This time
Like
काफी छोटी थी.
3-4 people.
Yeah. And now how big is the team?
So now we're about 35 people.
35 people. And this
Yeah.
is all encompassing, मतलब content, production, everything, or
Yeah, everything. So see, the studio is anyways a small team because we don't produce in-house. We essentially we have a very strong writing and development team in-house, which sort of develops ideas in partnership with writers depending on the story or genre. And then we sort of and the rest of the team is all Arre Voice, which is largely, I would say, tech engineering and a whole bunch of community managers for the new product.
So यार अभी ना I think it's been almost 8 years, right? 2016
7.
onwards, 7 years,
Yeah.
How have you seen the content ecosystem change, and where are you seeing the whole content? अभी तो creator economy has become a buzzword,
Yeah.
but I think when we were there this time, so this was just starting. So how have you seen the whole ecosystem change? Any specific stories that you have to share from Array or any of the talent that you have worked with? And how are you seeing the next 4 5 years? Yeah, this seems to be like a crazy trajectory right now for the creator economy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the, I would say, uh, there is long form content and then there are there is short form content. But really, I think, the definition of what is premium content is really, the lines between short form and long form are sort of getting blurred, right? So you have OTT platforms that are focused on premium, really expensive production value and premium content, whereas short video platforms have a lot of UGC content. But if you really look at it from the user's point of view or the consumer's point of view, what is value is relevant content, right? And how that relevant content is really and how that content is served to a user. So I may actually place more premium and value on a YouTube creator or a short format creator, and that might be more valuable for me as compared to let's say something that was created by an OTT platform with very high production value. So I think the how you're able to serve content to consumers based on their interests and what they are um, and what is relevant to them will sort of decide what is premium content in that sense, and monetizable, which has
Yeah.
monetizable value.
So what I'm understanding is production value. The पहले क्या होता था, if you want to work with a brand, then the production value has to be very high.
Yeah.
Has that kind of changed now? Is it more about the kind of following that you have and the kind of things that you're talking about? I mean, अभी content focus ज्यादा हो गया, production के ऊपर थोड़ा focus कम हो गया. Is that how things are now?
No, I think it's a mix of both, if you ask me. Because from a brand's point of view, I think what a brand is looking at, reach, ROI, and impact and engagement, right? And as long as a brand gets that, I think the format is incidental to it, right? So yes, a brand will spend money and make a really expensive ad film, which might also get them that, or a brand can partner with an influencer who's creating content from like the comfort of his home and yet able to deliver the brand message. So I don't think brands are looking at whether this is good production value or bad. Anything that can give them engagement and reach, and some impact, and that's why if you see a lot of advertisers are moving towards influencer marketing or moving towards, partnering with a lot of the short format video content creators, because essentially, like I was saying earlier, somewhere for a lot of users, those have become premium
Yeah.
in not in the production value sense of the word premium.
So this basically started off last year. मैंने देखा अंकुर वारिको doing an IND money ad. Then
हाँ
I saw Raj Shamani doing an IND money ad.
हाँ
Today, last week, I saw Ranveer Brar, that food vlogger, doing a thumbs
yeah
up ad. Okay,
हाँ
so that is the kind. So now
see
even the big brands are jumping into the bandwagon. कि यार चलो, as long as this person has a following and a growing
correct
one.
correct
So, and this guy is teaching how to make biryani in a thumbs up ad. And but that's working, I'm
yeah
assuming.
yeah
So any matlab, I think from yours, so I think Arre, I remember you were the only ones who were a multi-format OTT or
yes
multi-format platform. You had a textual, you had a website with content, you had videos coming out, you also had podcasts, now you have short form content as well. Um, from anyone who's starting off in the content paradigm right now, which, I mean, how does the whole multi-format strategy work? I mean, how has the multi-format strategy worked out for you guys? And is there any, so इसमें भी दो तीन चीजें हो जाती है ना कि जो टेक्सचुअल फॉर्मेट है वो लॉन्ग टेल हो जाता है. ठीक है,
hmm
मतलब इज इट जस्ट फॉर द एसईओ एंगल, या फिर ब्रांड का फोकस अभी भी बस वीडियो की तरफ ही है, या फिर वो आर्टिकल फॉर्मेट में भी there's some spends which come that way also? How does that work out?
I think for us, what was, what helped us, because in some of our early days, we relied only on branded content and advertising as a revenue stream before, like, the OTT opened up. I think the combination of a multi-format approach works well for brands. It was actually a differentiator, because I think most of the other people were either only offering like, text, or they were only offering video. I think here, when there was a campaign that a brand had, we could bring it alive through, doing a short video, talking it, also talking about it through an article, and like the audio format. So the combination of, these things became like an interesting proposition from a brand's point of view. And because we were always, I would say, an open distribution, open platform in that sense, like where, our content was available on multiple platforms, for the brand, that sort of, gave the brand added reach as well, right?
So very interesting. So it becomes a 360-degree package
Yes.
which you can basically give to the brands.
Yeah.
Interesting. Niyati, what's your take on communities in general? So that has again become a buzzword now. मेरा
Yeah.
इसमें एक बहुत important question है, because you are a part. So I think content and community kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So just want to take a little bit of thought about I mean, are you a part of any communities? And if yes, what's going on in that front? क्या लग रहा है आपको?
I think communities are, I mean, I can talk about it both from an Array voice point of view, because I think, the whole idea is, when you're part of a community, there is much closer sort of engagement, right? So communities help, uh, create relevant content. It helps increase engagement between sort of, creators and users in that sense, and therefore, it essentially brings a sense of belonging, right? So even so I think that's why communities are sort of become a community-led approach is very important when you're creating like a UGC sort of product, because it's like people bond together very organically, when you are either bound by a common interest area or a common life stage, right? So I'll just give you an example. Like, we have a very large K-pop sort of community on Array Voice, and a lot of these people, it's not like social communities like on other social media platforms. You know each other because you are, my friend's friend, or I'm following someone. Here you're bound together by a common interest area, so there is so much engagement between people just on random, like, K-pop content, K-drama reviews, fanning over BTS boy bands. And I think it's a great way to build engagement. And the minute you have engagement in a community, there is a certain level of trust, and therefore monetizability in that community, the monetizable value of that community sort of increases.
लेकिन इसमें एक और टेक है मेरा, मतलब टेक नहीं, मतलब मेरा एक और क्वेश्चन है इसमें कि हाउ बिग डज द कम्युनिटी हैव टू बी? बिकॉज देखो, अगर कोई ब्रांड के पर्सपेक्टिव से अगर आप देखोगे, then they'll, if you look at the normal social media numbers, they are in millions. They want 10 million impressions and XYZ reach. Communities are small, and if you really want engagement, you need to be small. ठीक है?
yes
ठीक है, तो उस एंगल से it becomes a little bit of a, and मतलब वो एक it's an inversely proportional thing ना, for a, मतलब ये एक ब्रांड के लिए, if a brand wants to associate or be associated with a community, let's say, ठीक है, अरे वो इसका K-pop community ही मैं पकड़ता हूँ, let's say if there's a movie which is being launched or a band which wants to associate, the community is 10,000 members strong. ठीक है, 10,000 is a big number for a community, but it's not a million.
Yeah.
So the money which comes for a community will be much lesser with respect to, but how do you then justify it? कि मैं engagement ज्यादा दूंगा, या फिर ज्यादा चीजें कर सकते हैं, या फिर these people become nano influencer? How does that work? I mean, purely theoretical थोड़ा सा मैं वो करना चाहता हूँ आपके साथ. I hope you don't mind.
No, absolutely. In fact, you're building a community yourself, right? Of like different. So I think any brand, like beyond a point, like will look for engagement and impact, right? I mean, yes, there is reach, but if people are not organically talking about it in some way, then the impact is not really felt. So yes, I think brands also understand that when they are partnering with, let's say, smaller communities, while the community size will be small, but I think it has a much more deeper impact. And if they're looking at, you know, users that, are likely to purchase their products or services, having, some kind of organic conversation stickiness becomes really important. And I think that you...
Go on, sorry.
वही I'm saying. So I think brands get that, that.
So quantify karna is actually the major problem which usually communities are facing. I was just trying to figure out, because I think right now communities is at a stage where content was back in 2014, 2015. अभी जो चीजें हो रही हैं, and I think it's just a matter of the way digital kind of use similar matrices which were working for television and then kind of brought it here. Is there a proxy for the communities as well which can be brought in? Because I think the digital reach probably is not the right proxy for what is happening here. इसका कुछ एक होगा, मतलब it's probably like a इवेंट या फिर ऑफलाइन मीटअप, उस टाइप के एंगल को शायद हमें प्रॉक्सी बनाना पड़ेगा इसको. बट दिस इज प्रॉब्ली अ डिस्कशन फॉर अनदर डे. वी कैन डू अ मोर डीपर डिस्कशन ऑन दिस. ये थोड़ा टैंजेंट में निकल जाएंगे नहीं तो. मेरे को ये बताओ यार कि अभी एट दिस जंक्चर, सो अरे वॉइस करेंटली किस स्टेज में है? व्हाट एग्जैक्टली आर यू पीपल डूइंग विद अरे वॉइस? मतलब हाउ is it launched, or is it something which you're planning to launch? किस stage पे अभी?
No, it's live on the app. It's live on Android and iOS.
It's a separate app, or it's a part of Arre only?
No, it's so I mean, as a business, it's part of Arre, but like it's a separate app or a product. So it's live. It went out of beta mode early Jan this year, and but it is by invite only at this stage. So
okay. And what's the kind of traction that you're looking, that you're seeing right now on Arre Women? क्या चल रहा है?
So very good. I think the good thing is, I think we started off with creating like of wanting to create a new, content idiom or content experience of short form audio, which is not there, right? And to see what sort of content formats can really become interesting use cases of a 30-second voice pod. And I think that's where our hypothesis on, ease of content creation is definitely, I think we're seeing that people are doing really fun stuff, from like 30-second sketch comedy to 30 seconds of spoken word poetry to 30 seconds of ranting, 30 seconds of, music and movie trivia to reviews and a lot of hot takes, language learning. So a lot of interesting, varied sort of use cases, which kind of tells us that, short form audio is very, very easy to create. And from a consumption standpoint, I think we have reasonably good, like I would say, listening time. It's almost 10 to 12 minutes per session, which means that somebody is consuming at least 20 to 20 to 30
पर
pods
इसका
at one
इसका
go.
यूज केस क्या देखा है आपने? जैसे पॉडकास्ट का है कि आदमी ऑन द गो सुनता है, गाड़ी में लगा करके बैठ गया, 1 घंटे की जर्नी है तो सुन रहा है, या फिर सोते टाइप कान में लगा के सो गया.
Hmm.
Usually those are the usual use cases that we see of a podcast, क्योंकि वो 1 घंटा 1.5 घंटा, but a smaller bite. So I'll tell you where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
There used to be a platform called Vocal, which was started by Arre. I'm sure you would know that. जो बाद में उन्होंने pivot करके Koo, they started Koo, right? So I remember I met Apremya when he was building Local. It was back in 2017, 18 के आसपास. I think it was a little bit ahead of its time. थोड़ा सा वो टाइपिंग का प्रॉब्लम था उसका. And they had a very interesting idea because number one, audio allows you to be multilingual as well.
Yes.
ठीक है, तो आप रीजनल कंटेंट भी क्रिएट कर सकते हो और काफी इंटरेस्टिंग ये कर सकते हो. लेकिन उनका क्या था, दे वेंट इनटू द Q&A फॉर्मेट, एज इन दे हैड शोज एज वेल, दे गॉट बिगर पीपल आल्सो, सचिन वचिन के से भी उन्होंने काफी कुछ ये करवाया. लेकिन उनका जो टेक अवे था ना, उनका टेक अवे ये था कि यार शॉर्ट फॉर्म में ना, अनटिल एंड अनलेस देयर इज अ, मेरा कोई मतलब Q&A फॉर्मेट ज्यादा बेटर काम करता है. ठीक है, इज व्हाट आई गॉट फ्रॉम देम. यार मैं ना, अगर मैं क्रिएटर हूं, ठीक है, तो एक तो यार मैंने मान लो 1 मिनट 1.5 मिनट का डाल दिया, तो सबसे पहले मेरे को वैलिडेशन चाहिए कि कोई सुनना चाहिए उसमें. ठीक है, तो अगर मेरे को वैलिडेशन नहीं है, एंड इफ देयर इज नो शेयरेबिलिटी विद द अदर प्लेटफॉर्म्स राइट नाउ, तो फिर मैं यहाँ पे क्रिएट करके करूंगा क्या? ठीक है, तो मतलब सबसे पहला वो हो जाता है कि यार मेरे लिए ना, इट बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर गेटिंग दैट वैलिडेशन कि हाँ, दिस प्लेटफॉर्म, आई हैव लिसनर्स इन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म, व्हिच बेसिकली वाज, आई थिंक टिकटॉक का मेजर सेलिंग पॉइंट ही वो था, राइट? कि जो पहला वीडियो आप बनाते हो उस पर इतना ज्यादा ट्रैक्शन आ जाता है कि फिर आपको लगता है कि भाई यहाँ पे तो बनाना चाहिए मेरे को. तो आर देयर दोस काइंड ऑफ ट्रिक, मतलब ग्रोथ हैक्स एंड एवरीथिंग आल्सो व्हिच यू आर इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग राइट नाउ इन द प्रोडक्ट?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'll send you an invite right after this podcast. आप देख लो. But I think see, for us, short form is, you can engage with content, you can share a pod, and you can not just share, a link because we are invite only. You can also share it as a media clip on WhatsApp or on any other form of social media, right? You can comment on something, and you can, repod something, right? So there are the usual sort of engagement ways to engage with pods, and I think the value of short form, see, two things, right? One is it's snackable content, right? So 30 seconds. So you want to just like scroll through and listen to a variety of, audio formats. It's not just Q&A. Q&A is like one format for us, right? You can do lots of things in like short form audio, like you see when you kind of look at the app. But we also give you the opportunity of listening to something in play all mode or in playlist mode, right? So let's say you want to just, if you're on the go and if you're driving or if you're in the commute, you can just hit play all and you'll get a stream of voice pods. And they can be playlisted by interest areas. So for instance, if you're into mental health and you want to listen to, motivational kind of pods, you'll get a curated list of best motivational 30-second pods in the format of a playlist. So it kind of, from a listening experience point of view, there is active and passive listening both. Active is when you see something funny, you engage, you want to, like, I'll give you an example. Because we have a lot of women on the platform, Girl Talk is a very interesting sort of cohort, right? Where women are discussing everything from relationships to, teenage problems to all of that. That's very, very active creation and consumption. But for example, poetry, some bit of comedy, some bit of spoken word lends itself very beautifully to passive consumption, where you're just listening to, let's say, 20-30 minutes of content of a particular genre and playlist format.
तो यार आपको लगता है live has a space here?
Yes, we are working on a live product, but we've not rolled it out yet. That's in the sort of works. I mean, I can just give you a tease of it. It's essentially like a small group where every person gets to speak for 30 seconds. So it's a fun
ये
gamified
चलेगा,
format.
ये चलेगा, मैं बता रहा हूँ लाइव चलेगा. एंड आई थिंक women focused audio first community और a product will मतलब बहुत चलेगा अगर आपने सही से इसको किया ना. I'm sure you people have the right distribution figured out for that. बहुत चलेगा ये. And I think that will become your gateway for the product. वो gateway बनेगा आपके product के लिए. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, with that, I think we were coming towards the end of the podcast. Yeah, Niyati, कैसा लगा? How was your experience in the Builders Club podcast?
No, I think it was a lot of fun, and I'd love to catch up with you whenever, like after, also get your perspective on what we are trying to create, and understand more about what Builders Club is doing. Yes.
मुझे तो लगता है कि बहुत मतलब इसमें the product is just at the beginning stages here. I believe women first or women only communities have a lot of potential if you do it right. अभी तक मेरे ख्याल से ज्यादातर लोगों ने ढंग से क्रैक नहीं किया है इसको. बहुत कम लोगों ने मतलब. So there's this company called PopXO. I'm sure you know that. PopXO मेरे ख्याल से बाद में अभी तो Good Glam group has basically taken over. So when PopXO was starting, I was also working on a women-only platform, which was called Storyfied. उस time पे, I don't know whether you know about that or not. So and we had a very interesting model and all. और उस time भी we had figured out कि if you create a kind of a gated, trustworthy community for women, and you give them the right tools to engage with each other, magic happens. And we have seen, and because I think every woman especially has a very different मतलब I don't know, मतलब देखो पहले ना audio platforms exist नहीं करते थे. And you're right कि I think the inhibition of showing themselves on a video or probably meeting offline have their own restrictions. Audio does not have that. And if you're able to give them an experience, and I think the feedback loops for you will become very, very important. You'll have to have the right ambassadors, evangelists, वो कहते हैं ना क्या बोलते हैं उसको, what do you call it? Power users. The power users are the most critical element here. Karo ma'am, I think I am very, very gung-ho about the product. Sounds very interesting. And I'm happy to help you guys in any way that you need. यार मतलब करते हैं इसके बाद connect. Let's see.
100%, for sure.
ठीक है.